Welcome to the video on subtracting mixed numbers with regrouping. Okay, this is, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be borrowing. So if we have 17 minus 8, you already know 17 minus 8 is 9, but if we were going to solve it mathematically on paper, we would cross out the 1 to borrow from it, and we would borrow those 10, that 10 from here, and that would become a 17, and that would be 9. Okay, we're going to be doing the same type of thing with subtracting fractions. We need to borrow from the whole. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at our first problem here. We're going to still do our t-chart if we need to. So I have 2 and I have 5. I am going to find my multiples of each. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then I have 5, 10. Okay, so I found my least common multiple. It's 10. All right, and then I'm going to come over here and see what do I need to multiply each of these by to get to that. So I end up with 1 and 5 tenths. Okay, and then I'm subtracting now. What do I need to multiply this one by? I'm going to multiply by 2, so I end up with 8 tenths. Now I can't say 5 minus 8, so I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to borrow a whole. And here's where I'm going to go back to the main screen. Okay, just for a moment. I wanted to bring you here, and then I want to talk about what is a whole. Okay, so I want to look at 1/2. So if I have 1 and 1/2, and I'm going to borrow, what is my whole? Well, in this case, my whole would just be 2 over 2. Okay, so I'm going to cross out this 1, and I'm going to give 2 to the numerator, to this right here. So this is going to become a 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. Because my denominator is a 2, that is my whole. Okay, let's look at another one. If I have 3 and 4/5, in this problem, what is my whole? Well, I have to have 5 pieces to make up a whole. Okay, so to demonstrate that for you, I have 5 pieces. If I have a pizza that's cut into 5 pieces, I have a whole pizza as long as I have all 5 pieces. Okay, so I'm going to borrow because I'm borrowing here for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to cross out the 3 here. I'm going to make it a 2 because I need to borrow a whole. Now in this case, my whole is 5 pieces, so I'm going to give my numerator 5 pieces. So my numerator is now a 9. Okay? Let's look at another example. If I have, I'm going to get you a new page here. If I have 4 and 3/8, okay, and I need to borrow a whole. In this case, 8 pieces is my whole. Okay? I have a whole pizza as long as I have all 8 pieces there. So I'm going to borrow a whole pizza. If I borrow a whole pizza, I'm borrowing 8 pieces. So I'm going to make this a 3, and I'm going to put the 8 pieces over here. So 3 plus 8 is 11. Okay, let's look at another one. If I have 7 and 2/9. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit harder to draw, so maybe I'll do 7 and 5/6. Okay, in this case, 6 pieces is my whole. So as long as I have 6 pieces of pizza or 6 pieces of pie, I have the whole thing there. So I'm going to borrow a whole. I'm taking away 7 and making it a 6. And now I'm giving 6 pieces, since my fraction is in pieces, not wholes, I'm giving 6 pieces to my numerator, so that becomes an 11. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on now to subtracting these fractions. Alright, so like I just did on the last page, I'm going to cross off the 1, I'll have nothing left. And in this case, my whole is 10 pieces, so I'm going to give 10 pieces to my numerator. So 5 plus 10 is 15. Now I can subtract. So 15 minus 10 is 7. So my answer is 7/10. Our denominator stays the same. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and look at another example here. Again, I'm going to start with my T-chart. So I have 3, and I have 4. I'm going to find the multiples of each of them. So I have 3, 6, 9, 12, and 4, 8, 12. And I have my least common denominator, it's 12. So I'm going to multiply my first fraction by 4, and I end up with 1 and 8/12. And then the next one I'm going to multiply by 3, and I end up with 9/12. All right, again, I can't say 8 minus 9, so I have to borrow a whole. So I'm going to cross this out. That becomes nothing. And in this case, my whole is 12 pieces. So I'm going to say, I'm going to add 12 pieces to my numerator. So 8 plus 12 is 20. Now I can say 20 minus 9. 20 minus 9 is 11, and my denominator stays the same. Okay, if you need to, go ahead and pause the video here. All right, let's look at the next one. Again, I'm going to start with my T-chart. Okay, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then I have 3, 6, 9, 12. But I want my least common denominator, so I'm going to go with 6. Now, what did I have to multiply 2 by? I had to multiply by 3. So I end up with 2 and 3, 6. All right, the next one I'm going to multiply by 2. So I end up with 1 and 4, 6. All right, again, I cannot say 3 minus 4. So what I'm going to need to do is borrow a whole. And in this case, my whole is 6 pieces. Okay, our denominator tells us what our whole is. So I'm going to cross off the 2. I'm going to make it a 1. I'm going to cross off the 3. And I'm going to make it a 9. Okay, so 1 minus 1 is nothing. And then 9 minus 4 is 5. So now I can say 5, 6. So our answer to this problem is 5, 6. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next problem. All right, here we're working with 5 and 4. So again, I'm going to start with my T-chart. I'm going to find the multiples of 4 and 5. And if you think you get it, go ahead and pause the video and finish out the remainder of the problems, and then come back and check your work. Okay, here we found that our common denominator is a 20. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply by 5. Okay, and now I have 4 and 15 twentieths. I have 2 and 16 twentieths. Again, I can't subtract, so I've got to borrow a whole. And again, we need to ask ourselves, what is the whole? In this case, the whole is 20 pieces. So say I'm at a party, and I'm making goodie bags. Each goodie bag has 15 pieces of candy, or I'm sorry, 20 pieces of candy in it. If I have only 15 in the bag, then I don't have a whole complete goodie bag. So that's not really fair, right? All right, so let's go ahead and borrow a whole. So I'm going to cross out the 4 and make it a 3. I'm going to cross out the 15, and I'm going to add 20 to it, because that's my whole, and I borrowed a whole. That's 35. 3 minus 2 is 1. 35 minus 16, you might need to make a little note off to the side for yourself. Okay? And we end up with 19. So it's 1 and 19 twentieths. And that is my answer. Okay? Again, if you need to, go ahead and pause the video here. All right, let's go ahead and look at this problem. So I have 3 and 5. Again, I'm going to start with my T-chart. And I do want to say here that the T-chart's not necessary if you already understand how to do this math. Or if you already understand what your common denominator is. So in this case, my common denominator would be 15. So I'm going to say times 5, times 5, times 3, times 3. Okay, so here I've written the fractions, and now I can look at it and I can say I cannot do 5 minus 9, so I need to borrow a whole. And in this case, my whole is 15 pieces. So 5 plus 15 is 20. 2 minus 1 is 1. 20 minus 9 is 11. And my denominator stays the same. So my answer is 1 and 11/15. Again, if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video here. All right, let's look at another example. Again, I'm going to start with my T-chart. All right, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and then I have 8. Oh, look at that. We already have it on this one, so this one we got it early. So it's 8 and 8. Okay, so the first fraction I'm going to multiply by 4. So I end up with 5 and 4 eighths. The second fraction can just stay the same. So now can I say 4 minus 7? No, I can't, so I'm going to have to borrow a whole. And again, in this case, my whole is 5. So that's going to become a 4. I'm going to give those 8 pieces to the numerator, so that becomes a 12. 4 minus 1 is 3. 12 minus 7 is 5. And my denominator stays the same, so it's an 8. So my answer is 3 and 5/8. All right, that is the end of the video on subtracting fractions with borrowing. Every problem we're going to be doing tomorrow is going to be a problem where we're going to borrow. So make sure that you understand this. You can definitely do some more fraction practice on iExcel. They may have some problems that require borrowing, but you won't be able to practice every single problem that requires borrowing. You could also go back through each of these problems, write them on another sheet of paper, and try to get to the right answer on your own.